Times and MSM finally admit that Where's Hunter's laptop from hell is real. FEC finds Hillary in the DNC, and Biden's White House endorses sex change surgery and hormone therapy for children. Disney's going full-blown woke, and the NFL's right behind him going woke. Will slaps Chris, and the U.S. opioid deaths have increased by 400% since 1999. There is an invasion at the southern border, and it's about to get worse, y'all. Joe and Kamala continue to embarrass us on the world stage, and Maxine tells the homeless to go home. January 6th committee holds Scavino in contempt, and Democrats attack Justice Thomas. Bill Barr is a liar, and Stormy loses to Donald. Bruce Willis is diagnosed with aphasia, and he's retiring. The Ukraine invasion put an end to the NWO, says BlackRock. I'm Mimi. This is The Rundown. Now here's Politics Plus Podcast.
Welcome to Politics Plus Podcast. I'm Mel.
I'm Mark.
And I'm Macy. And welcome to episode 1 of season 1. Our first episode. Yay! Today's going to be sort of a get to know us episode, as well as a why we need another political podcast episode. So, Mark, why don't you start us off?
Hello, everybody. My name is Mark. I'm from New Hampshire. I am married. I have 2 kids. I almost said 3 kids. I have 2 kids. I'm a conservative. What brought me to this podcast is our producer reaching out to me and asking me if I'd like to jump in on board with this, and I said yes, and here I am. So, Mel, how about you?
So I'm Mel. I am a God-fearing American gal. I am a wife, a mama of 2. I have a boy and a girl. I am from New York, unfortunately, and I'm a healthcare worker. I'm also a chauffeur, cook, everything in the mix for my kids. And what I identify as politically, I don't go to a party, but I guess I lean more towards conservative, but I don't trust our government. What brought me to the podcast was our executive producer. He asked if I could do it. The reason why I said yes was because I'm thinking about the future of my kids, and it's time for us quiet ones to wake up and start speaking our minds so we can start building a better country for our kids. We're fighting for them verbally because they can't speak for themselves, or if we're going to protest, peaceful protest, of course, just trying to do something that we can better ourselves.
And I'm Macy. I live in Tennessee with my husband and 2 sons. I'm a homeschooling mom. I pretty much identify as an American, not really as a political party. But if an app is going to label me, they label me as a libertarian right. That's pretty much all about us. So I guess let's go ahead and move into what we're really talking about today. We know what brought us together. It was our producer. But why do we want another political podcast? What is it with politics being so divisive? What is it that makes us want to give the world another political podcast? Mark?
Well, I think that we have a lot of big talkers out there that are well recognized. I think it's nice to see some ordinary Joes like us get on the air and talk turkey, talk with each other and hash things out, see where it goes. How about you, Mel?
Just to see how, us little people can just try to find some common ground as to where we stand, because people don't want to listen to what we have to say.
And what better to do when people don't want to listen to what you have to say than pump yourself through their headsets? I think that's the exact route that we are taking. But I think that what's really cool about this particular podcast and why it's needed is because it proves anybody can talk about this. You don't have to have a title or a seat at the table. You don't have to. We built the dang table, we gave them that table to sit at. It's our country. And we really need to be having conversations that people tell us constantly not to have. Politics and religion. Don't talk about them. It's too dangerous. But I really think that these conversations need to happen. They need to happen amongst people who don't necessarily agree with each other, but kind of understand each other.
I had a friend call me today who has a farm in New Hampshire. He's completely distraught. You know, he wants to start a Fly Your Flag Upside Down campaign to show our country's in distress. He laid out a bunch of things he wants to do, like have some billboards that state certain things to try and wake people up. And so it's not just us talking, little Joes like we are. There are all kinds of people out there that are feeling the same way that we are feeling. It's a new thing for me. But if I can be the voice for people like my friend who can't be the voice, really, then I'll try to do the best I can to get that point across. But there are a lot of people out there that are feeling like we are. As you can see by our introduction, we're all just ordinary people trying to muddle through, this whole new thing we got going on. It's an exciting thing. It's a fun thing. We're Americans. We want to do what's right for this country and say what needs to be said. So that's why I'm here. I'm sure that's why you guys are here. So it's an exciting new little venture for us, I think.
That, and also with everything that's happening with, our kids, how they want to indoctrinate them, and oh my goodness, with, what's happening in Florida with, they brought out this
Disney?
new bill. Yeah, they brought out this new bill that pretty much, it's only out of all of the states, only this one state is going to defend our kids, that from kindergarten to third grade, that they're not going to be taught any type of sexuality or any type of orientation. These are things that shouldn't be, these are things that as parents we should stand up for, because our kids don't know what they're heading into when they're in the schools. So as parents, we should be there fighting for them, seeing what is it that, is being taught in the schools, because with COVID, it gave them an excuse to shut everybody away.
And I think that's something that's really unique. We're all parents, so we are all have, even though we're not the same party, we don't look at things exactly the same way. The fact that we're all willing to sit down and say, because we want to be able to tell our kids, I fought for you. We want to be able to tell our kids, I did everything in my power. And some of us aren't, I'm married to a Marine veteran. So for me, I'm not the pick up the gun type. I carry one in the back of my pants every day, but I'm not that type of fighter. We need to find common ground, So, and I think that, Mel, you said it perfectly.
You are a mom.
And I mean, what is a mom's job? To when you have two kids, when you finally have two kids, what do you do all day long? You try to find common ground between the two of them.
Hey, Macy, you're a mom. That's all you have to say. You're there. You are trying to fight for your kids as a mom, and that's a great thing. Nothing wrong with that at all.
Any parent.
Just want to throw that in there. Yeah, but moms are special, though.
I mean, listen, we know we're awesome. But I mean, the dad has a very big role. Don't you agree, Mel? I mean, Mel, don't you think you have a boy and a girl, right? So you have both ends of the spectrum, because there's only two genders.
Yes.
So, you have both ends of the spectrum. Don't you think?
Hey, wait, there's 57.
But don't you think that plays a significant role, that you have a man in the house guiding your children?
Oh, absolutely. And I think this is where, again, it all comes back to structure, parenting, putting God first, because without that, this country is headed in turmoil.
Mark?
Well, I'm Mr. Mom, so I'm trying to do my best to be mom. My wife isn't the most sensitive person in the world, so I've got to try and be that person, even as a dad. But I'm also trying to be the dad. I'm trying to instill in my kids.
I think we have to, because politics are interjected into everything now. Politics is little bits of it are
Yeah.
drizzled everywhere you look now, and it's really hard to shelter your kids. But then again, there's a very definitive line where I feel like this show in particular is going to be kind of a learning show, and not like a PragerU learning show or something like that, but you expand your thinking by having conversations. You expand your viewpoints by talking to people who have alternative viewpoints. And you've got 3 parents who have 2 kids each, different genders, whatever, live in different places, have different religions, have different political parties, but we all kind of lean to the right and we all kind of come together on a couple of issues. But I think what's so important is that people have the conversations and are willing to expand their thinking like we're here to do.
Trying to have those lines of communication open. And that's one of the important things that you have to do with your kids nowadays. Trying to be honest with them and telling them, what's going on. Like, my daughter knows pretty much what's going on because we sit down and explain it to her. And also because we're those type of weird parents where we gave her the app of the Epic Times to read. So when she has a question, we'll answer it for her. I'd rather her learn from us than learning from outside, which right now it's crazy.
Homeschool.
If you don't talk to your kids if you don't talk to your kids in a straightforward fashion about what's going on in the real world, you're doing them a disservice, a big time disservice.
Honestly, yeah.
Absolutely.
And a lot of time, you can come across as the the hard nosed, the radical. I explain to my kids quite often the reason they believe the way they believe is because their dad's an asshole. And what I mean by that is I'm very much in your face about what's going on out there, and I don't care if anybody thinks I'm an asshole for being that way. I hate to say those words, I'm sorry for saying those words, but it's just the way it is. Period. You've got to talk turkey with these kids nowadays. You've got to tell them what's going on and make sure they understand what's going on.
Yeah.
I'm very proud of my children.
With that being said, I think we all are, because we're those type of parents that whether we're homeschooling them or we're taking them to school, we'll come back and we'll have open lines of communication with them. This is something that is lacking in our country. And also the fact of doing this podcast is also to have adult conversations without, getting our feelings hurt. That's something that we're missing as well.
And it totally is. And that's what's so cool is, like, when you're into cars, you go to a car club or whatever, right? Like, if you're into golf, you go to a golf club and you meet a bunch of golf people. But golf people, clearly I am not sports educated, so let's just forgive that now. But
They call them golfers. They call them golfers, Macy.
Cool. But everybody has their place. Everybody has their, and I don't want to be a Charlie Kirk or a Candace or any of these people. I am who I am. I am my own person. And that's one of the things that I love about both of y'all is y'all are your own persons, and y'all have very, very solidified core values, and I've learned that about you since we've gotten together and gotten to know you through this podcast. It's opened up this realm of possibilities. Like, no question is really off limits. No thought can be held back. And y'all are my car club. Y'all are my golfers. Okay. Like, y'all are my people. And I want us to be able to find all of our people.
Because there are,
What would be really cool about
there.
Yeah, that's right. Go ahead, Mel.
No, I was just going to say they're out there. Some of them just don't want to say anything because, they don't, I don't know, they're following or, mess relationships up. At this point, I don't care. I'm just like, I'm just going to do what's best for my family.
What I find interesting about the 4 of us, though, and I'm including Danny, our producer, is that we all have 2 children each. Isn't it kind of strange that we all came together? We all have 2 children. I'm 54 years old, and I have 2 kids that are about the same age as your kids. So, and our producers' kids are quite young, but we all have 2 children. We can all experience this together. As far as how we teach our children, we can bring this to the forefront. We can talk about it on the air. It's a great thing. So I'm excited about this.
And I think that we've really gotten to a stage in our society where like silence is considered acceptance. And we don't want to accept where our culture or where our country is going. And we have this responsibility, and that's how the entire revolution happened. You know, we've had a previous constitution, we've had previous governments, we've had, the reason that the system got shook was because everyday people, farmers, nurses, husbands, wives, sisters, brothers, they came together and said, hey, there is something structurally wrong with our country. Fundamentally, the baseline of our country is just withering away. And the way that you start getting together with other people is by starting to have the conversations that we're going to have in season 1,
Absolutely.
Absolutely right.
Our producer sent out a thing on Nathan Hale recently, and I sent that out to. In fact, it was to a friend of mine that had the farm that I was telling you about earlier. That wanted to do the flags upside down and all that. He's a patriotic, passionate person. I'll have to have him on a live show sometime. But he one of the things he said was, "What would Nathan Hale do?" He was very appreciative of that write-up, and I'm sure our producer's listening right now. And so thank you, Denny, for that, because I had a lot of good positive responses to that. But what would Nathan Hale do? We're living in a day and age where we don't have the gusto that they had back in the early days when they started this country. So we got a lot of hard work to do, a lot of hard pedaling to do to straighten this out. So that's why we're here. We're ordinary people. We're just ordinary schmoes, as I say. But if we can have great conversations with not just people of the like mind that we have, but also of the opposite way of thinking, then great. We need to do something, period. That's why we're here.
I totally agree. We also should talk about in this podcast is how we need Jesus back in this country, because we've taken him away from schools, courts, and right now it is
Amen.
Very sad the way things are going, and people are so blinded, or they just don't want to say anything not to offend anyone, and it's time to get over that sensitivity. We need to stop going by emotions and go by actual facts, going by, what our forefathers did for this country that was based on "In God We Trust."
What I say is it's time to start hurting feelings. It's time to start actually saying them like it is. And I know that Macy is not someone who's afraid of hurting feelings, so that's why I'm glad we're together. But it's time to start hurting some feelings. And what I mean by that is tell it like it is. So Macy, take it away.
Well, and I like to think that I don't intentionally hurt people's feelings, and I think that's going to come to light a lot in this podcast. I don't intentionally go out of my way to hurt people's feelings.
Oh, I know that.
But I am a very blunt and straightforward person. My daddy used to call it voluntary Tourette's. Okay. I have this unique ability to not think before I speak, and it just kind of comes out. And I think that so much of that is almost therapeutic in a sense for me. It was hard dealing with relationships, but now that I've accepted it and I understand that that is part of who I am, I'm we just have to roll with it, and freedom of speech is vital.
Yeah.
Well, I wasn't saying I wanted you to literally hurt people's feelings. I was saying just, I wanted you to tell it like it is. And I want to be with some co-hosts that can say it like it is. And it's going to involve hurting some feelings every now and then. So
it's called being brute.
That's what I meant. But that's right.
Yeah,
that's right. Being real.
And
praise God.
I don't think that we intentionally want to red pill, blue pill, green pill. We're not trying to change anyone's opinion. For the most part, we're just trying to expand our own opinions. We want to have these conversations, and there's people out there, like you said earlier, Mel, that are scared to have these conversations, that are genuinely terrified to bring up politics or religion or something that is really weighing heavy on their heart. And you need an outlet for that. You need to have friends that you can come to the table with and go, I really need to talk about, this Florida bill and why everybody keeps calling it "Don't Say Gay." I don't understand, and you need to have friends that go, dude, I just looked into that. I read the entire bill, and we are those friends.
Yeah.
We are those friends.
That all we want is a simple conversation.
We talked about how the mainstream media seems to really lean to the left, and whether it's news or movies or books or music or whatever the hell it is. But now we have the addition of podcasts and YouTubers, which are giving us this alternative entertainment. And with that alternative entertainment on the rise, normal everyday people have the opportunity to get their voices out there, like us, and make friends who want to come to the table and have the conversations.
And maybe try to be a good, positive role model. I don't like the word influencer like they use, but at least, we're just trying to hit those ears that, want to listen and, don't have somewhere to vent. At least, we can try to give them some type of entertainment as well.
Be nice to actually say the things that people are actually thinking.
Absolutely. Like, that's one of the things for me. Like, I listen to all these podcasts. No, don't apologize. I listen to all of these different shows and podcasts, and obviously I look for the ones that are more libertarian or more right. But like, when you listen to these shows, you're like, man, these people are like big. You feel like these people are just so big and they're intimidating to you. But all of us are very small on social media. This is a new thing for us, like we discussed. Like, Mark, you said it perfectly. We're just getting our feet wet. We're figuring it out. But it's something that if you have the ability, you probably should do. If it weighs on your heart heavy enough and you feel like it's something that would be good to give to the culture. Like, I'm loving that the Daily Wire is coming out with kids shows. I'm loving the Tuttle Twins. I'm loving all of these positive sources of entertainment that we're now getting because of YouTube and podcasts. And, what do you think, Mel?
Yes. Well, I didn't want to interrupt you, but now the Daily Wire, they're going to bring out the Tuttle Twins too. So they're going to start showing them on their platform.
They did pick them up?
Never heard of them.
Yes, they did. I saw it today.
Oh my God! I'm so excited.
Yeah, I'll forward it to you later. I knew you would be excited about that. I saw it. I was like, oh my gosh. Yeah.
I made my husband swerve in the car earlier because Tuttle Twins liked my comment on Twitter about the Daily Wire needed to pick up the Tuttle Twins. And I thought that it said that Tuttle Twins that Tuttle Twins had said that it was picked up by and I screamed in the car, okay? And I made my husband swerve, and he was like, what's wrong? And I'm like, no, it's a good thing.
I'm completely lost. Well,
okay, so Tuttle Twins.
Tuttle Twins. Is it Tuttle Twins?
Give him a crash course because you have the book series and you've also watched the YouTube series. So give him a crash course in what the Tuttle Twins is.
The best way to describe it without, going in too long. Do you remember Schoolhouse Rocks?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, well, it's a new version for today,
really?
For our kids. Yeah.
I'm looking at my chat. I'm looking at my chat on the right-hand side of the screen. It says STFU. What does that stand for anyway? Anybody know what STFU stands for?
No.
You guys didn't get that one, did you?
Season 1, I'm super excited. But obviously, just because it's our first season and we have so many big ideas and hopes and dreams and things that we want to come from this. So, Mark, what is your favorite thing that we have coming out this season that like you're ready to talk about or that you can't wait to do?
Boy, that's a tough question.
Can
I'm
I
not really sure what
answer?
you're asking exactly. Yeah, you go ahead and answer, Mel. I'm lost. But I will say this though. I actually am excited about actually doing lives on, just doing some live interviews with people. But go ahead, Mel.
Having some parenting conversations, how to parent in, this crazy age. I'm excited about that.
Amen.
Some hard topics to talk about. I guess the guests coming, seeing, what they're going to bring to the table. Mace?
I totally look forward to being uncomfortable. I feel like that's how you expand your thinking and your ideas and your perspective is by you get uncomfortable. Like somebody asks you a question and you're like, oh, yeah, no, never really thought about it like that. But
Can I say something real quick?
Absolutely.
I just want to say I feel really good talking to you guys. It's been a great experience. I hope this is the way it's going to continue. Maybe I'll interrupt less, maybe, but I really enjoyed myself tonight. So what you're talking about being uncomfortable, it is uncomfortable at first, but when you get rolling, it's good.
Well, we've got let's see, what all do we have? We have guest interviews to come. We've got video reactions, both music and, current events coming. And like Mark said, we are going to be doing a weekly live session on YouTube with all of us together where all the Politics Plus people come, the gang comes and chills and, gets to talk to us and gets to give us their suggestions on what they want to hear about. Because I really want a show that gives people the conversations that they're looking for. That's really important to me in this process is finding those people that are scared to say it and be like, but I really want to hear somebody have this conversation and give it to them.
Yeah.
Actually have some interaction with some guests, so.
Absolutely. So those live feeds will be happening every Wednesday on YouTube, our Politics Plus YouTube channel. And then we're going to be we're basically dissecting and exchanging our perspectives and our personal experiences on all of the different topics that we aim to discuss this season. But Politics Plus is less about one of our views, and it's more about how all of our views together really helps us, and it makes a better individual and it makes a better country.
Amen. Well said.
Well, thanks.
Well said.
But all right, so politics.
Our producer is laughing.
Okay, so political identities, as we covered earlier in the show, we're not on the same page for political identities. We don't align when it comes to political affiliation or backgrounds or lifestyles or, state or whatever like that. We don't align, but we're choosing to have these conversations and we're choosing to put ourselves out there, which, like you said, can be kind of scary. It can be kind of intimidating. But I think that it's totally worth doing because together we are just better.
That is true.
But we've become polarized over politics and we've stopped trying to communicate with people who have opposing views, We just shut down and we need to move forward. So when we say that we are Politics Plus, that's not just us, that's everybody watching. We are Politics plus so much more. And we need to remember that.
You guys put the us in plus.
Ooh.
I'm just kidding. That wasn't too bad, was it? You put the us in plus. This has been a great episode of Politics Plus, I think. I'm sure that my co-host will agree. Thank you for joining. I look forward to the next session. Thank you for just being Americans and being awesome.